Well, we've just finished listening to the Chancellor's autumn budget, and I guess the first thoughts for the forum are, I think we gave him a 4 out of 10 last year, and I think we're probably looking at the same this year. Some of the comments he made, he said the economy remains strong. You got the feeling that was kind of despite expectations. There are challenges that he said and opportunities he was going to identify. Interestingly, he talked about another £3 billion being put aside for Brexit provision, but again, no clarity for us on the destination of the Brexit negotiations and where they're going to go. We don't need to know all of his cards that he's going to play in the negotiation, but it'd be interesting to know where the government are trying to end up. Chancellor said that the debt is down, but we know we're still going to have a deficit by the time we get to 2025. So previously we were talking about the debt being gone in 2015 and we'd be into surplus. That obviously isn't going to happen. Getting into specifics, and as with most of this, it'll be interesting to look at some of the detail, but investment in infrastructure, road and rail has to be welcomed. From a personal point of view, if I'm going to Leeds or Birmingham, I'm adding at least an hour to my journey because I don't know what's going to happen, with road works and closures. So an investment in that, and also this investment in the regions and the city mayors, I think is a good thing. The rebalancing of the economy sounds good, but again, we've spoken about getting government departments out into the regions, and the forum have been asking that for a couple of years. We'd still like to see it. He talked about a big focus on the technology sector. I suspect that most of the 2.5 billion that he talked about in terms of unlocking small business potential will end up going there, aimed at those emerging businesses. The increased focus on this sector with its importance in the UK economy and the world economy, I think makes a lot of sense looking for the future. So again, we welcome that, particularly in an economy that's probably going through faster and more greater change than it's done in a number of years. That makes a lot of sense. Thank goodness a focus on better skills training. That's great. They talk about the focus on maths, more maths teachers, talking about actually in-work retraining, again, that pace of change. So the ability for people to learn, get into work, but also re-skill up again. You need new skills in your working life now. The ability to do that, again, very good. One slight disappointing thing about workforce is that nothing was said about reassuring EU nationals that are already here. And we've seen some of those leaving the economy. It's hitting certain sectors of our members, care homes and hospitality industry in particular spring to mind. We would have liked to have seen them doing something there. Freeze on fuel tax, great. Also the fact that looking at dirtier diesel engines, but they're going to concentrate on cars. Those members that have got commercial vehicles will be very happy with that. We've been asking for a fairer tax system for quite a while. That seems to be one of those things that they skirt around and do little bits and pieces, but not the wholesale work that's required. But there was a lot of talk in there about clamping down on tax avoidance. Also looking at the digital world and large digital multinationals and charging a fairer rate of tax for them. We welcome it, it'll raise more money. I think the really interesting question about that is, will those big companies actually step up, see their responsibility to the societies they're working in and pay that tax? Or will we see those big businesses spending their resources on trying further avoidance so as not to pay it? So it'd be interesting to see if we get a load of legal wrangles about that. Announcement on business rates, that's got to be good. Changing the indexation from RPI to CPI makes a lot of sense. It'll help a lot of businesses. The idea of going from a 5-year appraisal to every 3 years, but you do wonder why it couldn't be annually. I think there's more work that needs to be done there, but it's a step in the right direction, not affecting the threshold. And while we're talking about thresholds, the one that we were very nervous about was the potential of dropping the threshold on VAT. The government have chosen not to do that, which is great because already hard-pressed, our members are hard-pressed, compliance wrapped up in a lot of burdens placed on them by recent governments. and the fact that a load of them were sucked into doing quarterly VAT returns would have been an issue, there's no doubt about it. We're pleased that didn't happen. I'm slightly nervous that they talked about reviewing it and over the next 2 years. I don't think we've heard the last of that. So, a final thought from us here at the forum. Well, final thought would be that the Chancellor announced a decline in the forecast for both growth and productivity, which isn't good news. But against that background, our members, SMEs and micro businesses, who we know make up over 99% of businesses in the UK economy, and as the Chancellor said himself in his speech, account for over 50% of the people employed in there. I just wonder, and we wonder here, does the Chancellor realise that many of the initiatives that he and previous governments have put in place have really increased the time hard-pressed business owners are having to spend on compliance and regulation? It's also increased the costs to our members and these small businesses, getting experts to help them. And at the same time, they've removed many of the rewards for our members engaging in this entrepreneurial behaviour. They're the business generators of the future, the income generators of the future. And that being the case, is it any wonder that we're seeing productivity flatlining? The forum still feel that this government and any other government needs to understand the SME sector better and to understand how its decisions affect this sector. If they truly did, then I think they'd be better able to support the sector, to help it to flourish. And that needs to be a priority for this government or any other UK government for that matter.